Welcome today to the brighter side of tech, to our first inaugural video with one and only, as I quote, the distinguished gentleman, the distinguished daddy, Nicholas Trott. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am excited. This is a first, being on a video, being on a YouTube channel, first interview or whatever you want to call it that I've ever done. So I'm super excited to see how this is going to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be honest as well. In light of honesty and openness, this is my first interview. Last week, I actually started this channel and I'm like, I got to start collecting stories of people whose lives have been transformed in some way, be it personally or publicly, of how technology just helped aid them take that next step in their life. And so first, I'd like to share with you guys how I met with Nicholas, Nicholas, right? I have a cousin, Nick, and I'm like, I keep on.
They both work.
Okay, awesome. So Nicholas and I met through Clubhouse. As a matter of fact, Nicholas did not know me until last week, but I've known him for a little bit already. So I've been on this app called Clubhouse, and it's an amazing tool. One of the probably coolest tools. I don't know if this is a social media app. Would that be considered social media?
I would say so. It's very social and it is media. So
okay.
I with it.
Awesome. It falls under that category. So I went into what these things are called rooms, where Nicholas was sharing his story, his mission, his passion of what he's trying to achieve in this world, which is called I tried this so many times before the show and I still did it. The Dady Daughter Dayz, and on Instagram, official. So when I first heard that, I was like, this is pretty cool. Let me check it out. And so after a few times, I'm like, I started getting this thought, I gotta ask this guy to get on the show. And so finally, one day I get on. This is last week. This was on Friday. Yeah, your last Friday show.
Yeah, it was Friday.
Will tell us about when those are happening. Well, I get on there and all of a sudden I have this thought and my heart starts pounding like, hey, raise your hand and just ask him if he wants to come on the show. And all of a sudden I'm having that battle between my mind and heart. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I raised my hand and I think you were the only moderator. And then you let me up and I was like, oh snap, my chances just went way up. So I'm sitting there listening now in the speaker section. And then I was like, hey, can I ask you a question? Now, let me tell you how cool this was, how cool Nicholas is in this case, how we actually connected. So before I got into this into Clubhouse, I deleted my Facebook and Instagram. And so the only way people could reach out to me would be through email. So I say, hey, Nicholas, can I ask you a question? He's like, sure, go ahead. So I asked him to come on the show. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Shoot me a DM. And I'm like, I don't have an Instagram. And he's like, okay, you got a pen and paper? I was like, I gotta grab a pen, grab a paper, right there. And then he gives his cell phone. So it really goes to show how much Nicholas is really trying to get out there to share his story. And today's show is really all about that. Now, Nick, this is where you start shining. I'd like to dive into the story of Dady Daughter Dayz official. Where, when, how, what is the story what gave you the idea to start your mission of Dady Daughter Dayz? What was that originating idea that was like, I think I should do something like this? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, it's a story. 100%, it is a story. So I have two daughters. One that is turning 22 this year. Yes, 22 this year, and one that's turning 5 this year. So my 22-year-old, I had an experience when I was, obviously 18 years old. Getting a girl pregnant obviously wasn't the ideal situation for a teenager, and definitely wasn't the situation that I wanted to be in. So that ended up getting pretty sour. To the point where I ended up walking out before I even found out she was pregnant. I actually left, and I got told 3 weeks later that she was pregnant, to which I didn't believe her. And obviously, after she started showing, it became real. However, at this point, I had already moved out of the city, and I had moved to so she was living in London. I moved to Toronto in Canada here. It's about an hour and 40 minutes away, and started my career out of high school in the automotive industry. And so when my daughter was born, I held on to all these resentments. I didn't realize this then, right? I was only active, right? So I was selfish, and I just continued through life serving myself. Working, having fun with my friends, basically doing what any 19, 20, 21-year-old, would do if they didn't have a child. So, I would show up. So my mom, my stepfather, they lived in London close by. They had an active role in my daughter's life. And so I would go back and I would have, small little time with my daughter, but not in the space of like how a dad would really be. Right. And changing diapers and feeding and all that stuff. Like it was only like an hour here and there. So going forward, fast forward to she's 14 years old. It's January. I call her to get her report card stats and see how she did in school. She informs me that she hasn't gotten her report card yet. Doesn't get it for another week or so. I said, oh, okay, well, I'll call you maybe in a week and then you can tell me. And she goes, okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll let you go. And that was it. It was like, being in an elevator with somebody who, it's like you don't know and you don't want to have any further conversation with. It's like it's kind of got awkward. And that was the typical conversation I would have with her, right? Now, being 14 years old, it's, obviously, conversations with a 14-year-old, girl is already not there. They're not interested in really having that much conversation with you as it is. But for a father that wasn't around, it was even more awkward. So about a week later, she was at my mom's house again. That was the only way for me to communicate because my mother and her mother and I, we don't talk at all. We have no relationship whatsoever. And so I had called my mother's house again, and I said, can I speak with Candace? And she says, well, I have a message for you. Candace has informed me that she doesn't want you to call her ever again. You're not her father, and that she doesn't want any part of your life or you be part of her life. So at this point, right, I was 34 years old, 34, 35. And, at this point in my life, I still was in the space of, not taking responsibility for myself. And so it was more of, when she comes around, like she'll come around. When she does, I'll be here, and whatnot. Right. So, I brushed it off. So that was, late January, and in March, I think it was March, I got introduced to a transformational program called Landmark, the Landmark Forum. A friend of mine brought me and introduced me to that. And I just got this powerful distinction in one of the introductions. And I said, wow, I need to be a part of this. And so I said to him, I can't really afford this right now. It was, to me at that time, it was expensive. And he goes, it's fine. I already paid for it. You just got to go to the back of the room and just sign the paper to say that you authorize that you're going to accept the.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's an offline moment too.
What's that?
Right. I said there's an offline transformation moment, a pivotal moment.
Somebody standing for you, right, and realizing that look, man, I want to stand for you, right. And so I ended up taking part in this course. It's a 3-day course, 13 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like intense. And basically it works where, you get to access your blind spots, right? So it works in the areas that you don't even realize what's going on in your own mind, right? Why you're operating in ways.
Yeah.
So after the weekend was done, and a bunch of different exercises and making phone calls, I got present to taking responsibility for my life. And so, I had been kind of avoiding it. She didn't show up to my mom's house, I think, until Monday. She had been at her mom's for the weekend. So I wasn't able to get a hold of her. And then on Monday I called, and my mom said she didn't come tonight. She went back home to her mom's house, but she's supposed to come tomorrow after school. I said, okay, great. Well, the graduation or the final night is Tuesday, where you go back to the program one last night to bring any guests that you think, which is like what my friend did for me. He brought me on a Tuesday of his completion. And so I was on my way. I had a few guests coming with me from my life, and I was on the way to the completion night at 7:00 p.m. and it was about maybe 5:30. She had come home from school, and I called my mom's house, and I said, "Is Candace there?" And my mom said, "She is, but she doesn't want to talk to you." And I said, "I got that." I said, "Can you just ask her if I can have 5 minutes of her time?" And so, she said, she asked her, and I guess, my daughter agreed. So she came on the phone and, pardon me. And so, I said, basically it was about a 2-minute conversation where I told her that, I wanted to take responsibility for the fact that the reason why we don't have a relationship and the reason why you don't want me in your life is as a result of who I have been. I've been somebody who hasn't been there for you. I haven't made you a priority. It has nothing to do with between us. It has nothing to do with your mom or this or that. It has to do with me not making you a priority. And if you give me the opportunity, I'll do everything in my power to make you a priority and, give me that second chance. And so, not much was said. She didn't say anything. I said, do you have anything that you'd like to say? And she said, no, not really. I said, okay, well, thank you so much. And then we hung up the phone. So I went into my completion, all like excited that I got to talk to my daughter right after 2-3 months. And so the week later, within this program, people really stand for you, right? So, somebody said, well, why don't you call her again next week and ask if you can have time, right? And so I did. We ended up talking for like 20 minutes. Well, actually, and I talk a lot, and you know this. We've been on the phone several times. I can talk, and
takes one to know one.
Yeah, right. And it's like we're both fighting for the mic. She ended up. I started talking. Same thing. I said, "Hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? I just wanted to share a few more things with you." And she took the opportunity, and we started talking. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, she talked my ear off for like 20 minutes, telling me about. And I can remember the conversation about this new bathing suit she just got. She's going to be going over to Mackenzie's house tonight, and they're going swimming at Mackenzie's house, and all this stuff. And she was just so excited. And I had to go to an appointment, and it's like 20 minutes later, and I said, Candace, I said, like, I'm just so excited. I didn't realize we were going to be on the phone this long. I actually didn't even know if you were going to take my call. Can we talk again, like in a couple of days, maybe? Like, can I call you back? And she said, sure. So I was like, all right. So this progressed to being a conversation like once a week. Then it was twice a week. And then after a month or two, it was like, can I come and pick you up and take you to the movies? To where it became, I would go to pick her up or come to London to go take her to a movie. And, I'd show up to London, an hour and 40 minutes away. And I'd say, hey, I'm almost there. And she'd say, oh, I forgot you're coming. I made plans with a friend. And I said, oh, okay. And it's like, at that point, it's like, okay, I came all this way, and how would you do this to me and waste my time? And, or, well, can I pick you and your friend up and drop you guys off to the movies? And she goes, really? You don't have to do that. And I said, well, I'm already here in London, so I might as well drop you off. And how are you paying for it? Do you need money? Do you need money for popcorn? Like, can I help you? And she's like, sure. So then I picked her up, and her friend got a ride too. So I picked her up and dropped her off to a friend at the theater. And, I gave her $20 she already had tickets. I gave her $20 for popcorn, whatever she wanted. And I said, well, I'm going to go to grandma's house, and I'm going to hang out with grandma until whenever. So if you want, just give me a call, and I'll come back and pick you up. And, I can drive you and your friend, or at least drive you home. Maybe we can, stop and grab some ice cream or something on the way home or whatever. And she's like, okay. So we did that. And so we continued this, and, she tried canceling on me several times. And I kind of like create this thing in my head that I'm like, I think she was just testing me to see, if I was really serious, if I was really going to show up, even when, I was throwing audibles, right? And so this continued on for about 1.5 years, 2 years. We started going to Canada's Wonderland. It's an amusement park. We love going on rides. So that became our thing. And we do so much stuff together. And then in 2016, so that was 2014, 2016, Melia was born. So the one that you see in my profile picture there on Clubhouse. So she was born in 2016 in July. And, the question comes up for me all the time. Let me backtrack a bit first. So through Landmark in 2014, there's the first weekend is called the Landmark Forum. The second weekend is called the Advanced Course, about 6 weeks later. And then about another 6 weeks later, third and final part of the curriculum, because it's kind of like university for your life. There's always continuing programs, is called the SELP, the Self-Expression Leadership Program. And within the Self-Expression Leadership Program, there's a project that you're supposed to develop, right? And so this is to answer your question. That gives you the background story of why. This is the reason, that's the reason why I started it, and this is what I started. So I decided to create a project around dads and daughters.
Yep. Okay.
And so because this project had to impact the community that you're a part of, right? And so I selected a community of dads and daughters. And so when I created Dady Daughter Dayz, the idea was just to create events and fun things to do locally, right? Where I could get dads and daughters together, go out and do the things that the daughters want to do. Because so often we say, here, let's go do this. Like, I don't know if you remember, like when I was a kid, 30 something years ago, my parents just said, this is what we're going to do. Get in the car, we're going to do this. And it's like, you get there and it's like, this isn't fun. And so my idea was, let's talk to the daughters. Let's find out what they like to do. And then we'll create events on that. And if we got to wear tutus and pink this and that and paint our nails, well, we're going to do it, because you see, it's not about us. It's about what they like to do and make sure that they're the ones having the fun, right? And so if we can connect our daughters on that level, now we're getting somewhere, right? So so that was the idea of the project, and so I started it, and it took off, and I created my first event. We shut a nail salon down. One of the dads that I know, he has 2 daughters, and so he shut his salon down on a Sunday, and the only people allowed in were dads and daughters.
That's
and they got
awesome.
a good price to get manicures and pedicures. So I had all these men in the chairs with their daughters getting manicures and pedicures and everything. And it was just fantastic.
That's
so that was
awesome.
really, yeah. And so, this continued, and we started doing, we did a few more events, and we did we got together with dads and daughters. And then fast forward back to where I was going was 2016, and Melia was born. And, I was super, super involved right from day one, right from the second she was born. And, it's a question that I always have come up for me daily. Am I loving Melia this way as a result of making up for what I didn't do? Or am I loving her just because I love her? And it's a hard question, to have to answer each day, because I know the answer. The answer is I just love her. Right? It's not because of my lack of love for, or being there for Candace. It's just because I just love her, and so, but it is there, and it's a struggle each day to push that out of my mind. And so going forward, the resentments that Candace had, for me not being there for her started to surface again. She didn't want to be around Melia. She didn't want another sister. She has 5 brothers and sisters already at her house. Didn't want another sibling. Her experience was that, she just didn't want to share, a parent or any more brothers or sisters. And so, she requested that if I'm going to come see her, can you not bring Melia? And here I am. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have to meet your sister. And I remember one time she worked at a grocery store, and I came with Melia, and her friend was in the aisle with her. They were stocking the shelves, and her friend was like, oh my gosh, your sister's so cute. And Candace didn't even want to hold her sister. And I found out after that, she told me, I'd rather you not bring Melia. I just want to see you. I don't want another sister. And so the resentments continued to build. And before you know it, she decided October 27th, 2017, we had a fight. We had a fight between the 2 of us. And, she decided once again that she didn't want to be a part of my life anymore. And so it was interesting because I let Dady Daughter Dayz fall apart. I just, I looked at it as almost like there was the reason was because of my daughter, my first daughter, and creating this new bond, and then standing with other dads and daughters to be able to repair and have this as well. And then when it fell apart, it was like, well, who am I to stand for this? I can't even make it work myself.
Imposter syndrome.
Hey, I didn't even know what that was until Clubhouse. Yeah. So And so, yeah, so I let that slide, and I focused all my energies on Melia, and so fast forward, and what I can really respect my Candace for is, I tried sending her money on her birthday, I tried giving her gifts, and they were all declined, and it was like, no, I really don't want you to, get a hold of me. I don't want your money. I don't want, and I was like, okay, like, it wasn't like she'll take the money, but don't call me. It was like, no, she stood fast in her integrity. And I was, I can respect that. So, moving forward to 2021, yeah, okay, that's what we're in right now. And here comes, well, actually, no, 2019, we did do a few events, small things, a few of my guy friends with daughters. We went out to the trampoline places. We went out to a couple places and got together, just very loose, organized things, nothing too big. And then the pandemic hit, and obviously everything was shut down. And this is funny, this is how tech comes into play. And so, I didn't realize my goal was to take Dady Daughter Dayz global within 3 to 5 years, right? Like it started local, being
What was that? What was that all about?
Yeah, global, and so
it's only been 6 years.
Huh?
It's only been 6 years. So since, was it 2014 when you first started it, had that idea? So yeah, just plus minus a couple of years after the goal, you're good.
Well, if you think about it, I dropped it in 2017, so that's only 3 years, and then I restarted it. So it's like we just cancel out.
Yeah,
so we're still on track. We're still on track.
Yeah. Woo! Still on track.
Depends on what timeline you want to go on, right? We can delete years in the middle. It's like editing
fifth gear.
Video, right? It's like editing this video. If we mess up, we just cut little chunks out. We just pretend it didn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. 2020 didn't happen. Basically what happened was, obviously through the pandemic, we couldn't get together. We couldn't go to events. We couldn't do all that stuff. And me being somebody who's very technology illiterate, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not, it took me, this is my first Zoom I think I've ever done on my own. I've had somebody else put it on the computer, and then I sat in front of it. Like,
welcome.
I had to download the app and all that stuff so we could do this, right?
Nice.
And so I never even thought about it. So then I get on 2020, just nothing happened with Dady Daughter Dayz. And then 2021, January 8th, I think, I joined Clubhouse. And here comes the tech, right? The brighter side of tech. Because I had done it on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Dady Daughter Dayz. I have the Instagram page, like you said, Dady Daughter Dayz official, because somebody stole the Dady Daughter Dayz, and so I couldn't get that. So but it never really took off. I tried hiring a company to get my growth up and all this stuff.
Yep. They just weren't the right mediums.
Right, and like I said, I like to talk. So here we are with all these other platforms that you have to be savvy in the realm of uploading stuff and knowing how to do the ads and all this stuff, right? So it's like, then here comes this strictly audio app, like strictly audio. Like you can't DM anybody, you can't post anything. It's just talking. Hey, I'm good at that. So I get on this app, and it says link your Instagram. So I'm like, okay, well, if I link my personal Instagram, well, that's just a bunch of fitness and silliness and stupid stunts and just silliness. I'm like, okay, everybody's doing all business stuff and this is a way to promote and whatnot. So I said, okay, well, I'm having a shift in my professional career in my contracting business. I don't really want to promote that anymore because I'm not going to be doing that for very much longer. Well, why don't I swing for the fences and I'll just link Dady Daughter Dayz, right? So I do that. I upload a profile picture of myself, and off we go. Now, the crazy thing is too, I actually am kind of awkward. I'm okay talking with you. I'm okay talking with a few friends. Throw 20 people in front of me. All of a sudden, now, no, not even. Now it becomes, I'm just silent. right? Like everybody else is talking. I don't want to interrupt. You know, I just kind of sit back. So, you know, I get on this app and, you know, I'm jumping in rooms and you know what it's like. There's some rooms will have 500 people in the room, right? And 10, 15 people on the stage talking. And then you do the stupid thing of clicking on their bio, you know, you click on one of the trillionaires or billionaires or, you know, these people that are like, you know, oh, this is this person and this, and they've accomplished this and they have, you know, 26 businesses and, you know, they profit $400 million a month. And you're sitting there going, you know, because you believe it's true. And we know that not everybody on this platform is 100% honest. So, but you look at it and it starts to like choke you up, right? You start to, you know, like you said, coming up on the stage with me, and I'm thinking like, you're afraid to come on the stage with me? Like, you know, I'm just a regular dude, man. Yeah, so it's like, you know, I get on this stage, there's like 500 people in the audience, maybe like 20 people or so on stage, whatever it was, a lot of high influential people by the looks of it. And, you know, it's like, the way it works is you can see profile pictures and it's like the person just before me is talking. Right? And then they're getting their question answered, right? And I'm thinking, in about less than a minute, they're gonna say, Alexi, have you had your question answered? Do you feel served? And then you're gonna say, yes, thank you so much for having me, da, 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 da. And then they're gonna go ahead and move you down to the audience. And there goes my profile picture into the next hot seat. And then it's Nicholas, welcome to the stage. What is your question? And so, you know, they're answering your question and I go, leave quietly. And I leave the room. And I leave the room. Not only did I leave the room, but I like double tapped. I have like the old iPhone 8, double tap, and I swipe up the app. Get it off. Close it. Close it. I don't even want to like see the app. And I'm sitting there and then I get in my head, right? And I start crying. And I'm sitting there crying, like literally crying, tears coming down my face. I'm like terrified, like, man, what the heck's wrong with me? You know, why couldn't I just ask a question? Oh, don't do that to me, man. Don't do that. Like you just woke up. I'm closer to bedtime. Don't start yawning on me. Yeah, so I'm thinking
I just realized I'm not breathing. I'm listening to it and I'm not breathing. I'm like, dang it.
And so here I am crying, right? And it's like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I ask a question? So I don't go on the app till like the next day, right? And so, you know, I get in another room, but I get in a small room, you know, and then I start making some friends, like small rooms, right? And, you know, with regular people, you know, somebody with something followers, like, you know, 50 followers. So I start connecting with people like that. And, you know, as a lot of people that have, you know, that might be watching this, that have been on Clubhouse, there's that addiction phase in the first month or two, right? And you start investing or spending. I wouldn't even say investing, spending, because in the beginning you spend time on Clubhouse. And so when you spend money, you don't get it back, right? When you invest it, there's a return. In the beginning phases of Clubhouse, you know, you're spending time. You're flubbering around and you're not doing the best use of your time. You're going in rooms, you're doing this, you're joking around, and you're wasting time. And so, you know, I started doing rooms, but the rooms that I was doing was like, you know, oh, let's do a funny room tonight, guys. Like all the things in life that you're not doing because you're on Clubhouse. We'll call it Clubhouse Anonymous, right? For addicts, right? And so we started doing that. Freaking hilarious. Like some of the things, like, it was like, oh, I stood in the shower naked for 3 hours today while I was in a room because I knew that if I turned the water on, I'd have to like, what if they called on me? Like, oh man, I'm going to miss my chance to talk. You know, and it's like, I'm standing in the shower, screw it. I'm not going to shower today. You know, and it's like, we joke around like that, right? Well, after I'd say about 2 weeks of running that room straight every night, every weekday night, it got to the point where I just started to realize, like, this is serious. Like, this is actually a serious thing. Like, you know, we need to do something about this, right? Anyhow, so then I realized, okay, I'm comfortable talking. I kind of got my feet I get in this room with Ajay and Anil Gupta, okay? And these two are like just unconditional givers. And I get on a stage with them. I go up and ask a question. There's like maybe 30 people in this room, right? I ask a question, and as I ask a question, I said something along the lines of, I'm not wealthy like these other people on the stages. He stops me and he says, Nicholas, what makes you say that you're not wealthy? And I'm like, well, because like I'm not a millionaire. I don't have like all this stuff people have and that are talking on these stages. And it's very, what is the word?
Not financially off as well as everybody else seems to be.
When somebody is better than you or you perceive them as better than you. Intimidating. It's very intimidating, right? And so I was like, it's very intimidating, being in front of these people that have achieved so much in their life and I'm not there. And he says, well, but what constitutes wealthy, right? Every one of us is wealthy, right? And it's like what you have to offer others, right? And you have a story and you have so much to offer others, and that every human being on this planet is wealthy. And he's like, I want you to say it with me. I am wealthy. And I said it to him. I said it back, right? He says, thank you. What's your question? Right? And then I went on to ask my question, and I just like instantly, Alexi, I felt my confidence level was like, boom, like through the roof, right? Because I'm just the same, right? Like I have just as much to offer. I don't know in what way, but I do.
Yep.
So I decided, and I told him, I said, I'm going to start my room. I'm going to start a room. I'm going to get this going. So I changed my profile picture to a picture of my daughter and me. It's the one you see now. That wasn't the one I used for the first like 3 weeks. So I changed it to that picture, right? Didn't even have the pink ring on it. Didn't have Clubhouse's favorite dad on it. It was just a picture of her and me. And I started rewriting my bio. So I started rewriting the bio and getting it looking good. I put my first, I was about to put my first room. No, I scheduled the first room Tuesday at 6:00 p.m. And I was driving towards Niagara Falls. And so it's about an hour, 20 minutes. And I'm like, but I have like 200-300 followers. I'm like, who's going to even show up to this room, right?
Yeah.
And another thing that Jay and Neil told me, they said, the thing is if you start a room and nobody shows up, nobody will know. So what do you have to lose?
Good point. Good touche.
Yeah, right? So now there's a feature on the app, what you can do, and here's a tip for anybody watching this who's on Clubhouse and they're new to Clubhouse. What I used is, it's a hack that I teach a lot of people to use now. And so there's a little button at the bottom of the hallway that says start a room. So I was getting in my van, I'm going for this drive, this hour-and-a-half drive, and I go start a room, add a topic, and I went calling all girl dads. Get in the car, hit the drive, hit start, off I go. I'm sitting there, it was like 2 or 3 minutes goes by. I'm just sitting there driving, music's playing a little bit because I figure if somebody comes in the room, at least music will be playing, it won't be dead air and awkward. And
someday over the rainbow.
And so I'm sitting there, and then I see this woman pop into the room. A woman, right? I'm like, I'm calling all little dads, right? And I see her, and it's Andy Moser, right? And man, I love her. She's just fantastic. We still talk to this day. And that was 7 weeks ago, or eight going on 8 weeks ago. And so she pops into my room, and I say, hey, Andy, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. We start talking, right? Yep. And, and then she's in the room on the stage. So now other followers from her get notified that Moser's talking to Nicholas Trott about calling all girl dads. So then a couple people from her, circle pop into the room. So I say, oh, if you guys want to come on up, I'm just, talking about girl dads. Boom, they come up to the stage. Next thing you know, 30 minutes goes by, 40 minutes goes by, and I'm in a room with 50 dads, girl dads, and probably we'll say it's like about a 80-20 split. 50 people, 80-20 split, 80% dads and 20% girls, right? So it's like, this is fantastic. And everybody's introducing themselves. It's like the dads are saying, oh, I'm Nicholas, and I've got 2 daughters, and da, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And then the daughters are like, oh, my name is, Tina, and my dad is my hero, and or I don't know my dad. I haven't talked to him in, since my mom, never told me who he was, and we're hearing those stories, and I'm like, I was like, I look back at it now, I'm like, man, I should have been taking notes. Like I was driving, obviously, but I'm thinking this is great, right? It took me weeks to really dial in the room, and then I said to them, I said, okay, well, who's available? It was like 4:30. I'm like, who's available in an hour and a half to do an actual room? And so I had all these dads like DMing me on Instagram saying, I'm available, I'm available. So then I go back to my room, I edit it, and I put all these dads on the panel, 13 of them. And so 6:00 p.m. comes, I start the room, 14 of us up on the stage right at the start.
That was the first official room, right?
First official room.
Nice.
Okay. First official room, 14 dads and daughters. Andy showed up too. And in Switzerland, she's from Switzerland. So it's like 1 a.m. for her time, right? And she's like, I'll stay up, right? I was going to do it at 8:00 p.m. She's like, that's 3:00 in the morning or whatever it was. She goes, that's too late for me. I go, okay, what about 6? She goes, I can do 6. I can do, 1 or whatever it converted out to be. And I said, perfect. I'll do it for you. Boom. I'm like, first person to come in my room. Like, heck yeah, I'm going to be adjustable, right?
Yeah.
So we start the room, 14 of us on the stage. Right away, people start coming into the audience. And I think I had about 70 something people in our room. First room, 1 hour room talking about dads and daughters. And so it was like an absolute hit. I said, hey guys, like, let's do this twice a week. Let's come back on Friday, right? Started out on Friday, boom, we do it again. So then I'm like, okay, schedule my room for next week, Tuesday, Friday, do it again. And I'm like, well, why don't I come up with a topic to talk about? So it's like, okay, let's talk about step parenting, right? So it's like, Tuesday is dads talk vulnerably about step parenting, part 1, and then part 2. So we do it, but more women are coming in. And I'm like, okay, well, this is dads talk vulnerably, right? But there's women that want to come on the stage, and I'm bringing them up, right? And I'm like, in the first day, I'm like, hey, look, I think we need to change the name of the room to Dads and Daughters Talk Vulnerably, because it's just so valuable having the daughter's perspective to be able to discuss from their point of view, from when they were little, what that relationship was like with their father, and give us dads a way of seeing it from the other side, so that we can apply these things that we're learning, how that comes off from a little girl, right? And how it has impacted for 20 something years, 30 years, what that thing that their dad did, how it impacted them for all these years. And, the therapy that they had to go through or whatever, right? Because of one thing said or one thing that we did. And it's like, here's our opportunity to listen to these daughters and make adjustments in real time so that we can not have to go through the same thing, right? Like, let's learn from these girls, right? Or these women. And so it became Dads and Daughters Talk Vulnerably. And then now the way the introductions go is if a man wants to come up and share on the stage, we say, Alexi will say, hey, Alexi, welcome to the stage. If you could just briefly introduce yourself, take 60 to 90 seconds to do that. And as well, tell us about your daughter or daughters and their ages, and maybe a little fun story about the relationship between you guys. And then you'll go ahead and do that. And if a woman comes up, it's like, Andy, hey, Andy, welcome to the stage. Of course, you are not a father, but you are a daughter, which means you have a father or had a father. And so we'd love to hear what that relationship was like growing up, and maybe how it is now and how it's impacted your life, and some of the relationships that you've had or not had growing up, with men as a result of the influence your dad has had. And so then, the women had to introduce themselves that way. So, the room has just become incredible. It's, we get so vulnerable with each other, and just, we share, like, it's no joke. We share things that people only share with their therapists, people that pay, hundreds, thousands of dollars to talk to somebody about, are coming in our room and they're sharing and releasing that pain. Not only just releasing the pain, but we don't let them go down the rabbit hole of sadness. We share and we lift each other up, right? And we do it in a way that we ask, hey, Alexi, did you just need somebody to hear that, or did you want us to contribute and talk about that, right? So that, like, sometimes people come in, they just want to let something go off their chest, and they're not looking for advice. They're not looking for any coaching, and that's fine. And the space is there. However, nobody yet has said that, right? Everybody says, no, please, I'd like any kind of input you can give from your side, right? And so it's just the connections that have been made and the stuff that I've heard, dads telling me, like, I'm getting DMs from some of the things I've shared and people reaching out to me and all this stuff. So, the room is now holds strong at a solid, like anywhere between 50 to 100, depending on the night, and we have so many different dads and daughters coming in to share. And some people come in for 20 minutes. Some people stay for the full 2 hours now. So we've increased it to like 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. And then I even give like a 30-minute grace, because once it starts getting juicy and people are sharing, it's so hard to shut it down.
Yeah, that's the one challenge with Clubhouse is once things start, it's like,
yeah. So that's the shift, right? Is introduce tech in a way that serves Dady Daughter Dayz, right? So like I said, I have paid companies to try and boost my engagement and my followers on Dady Daughter Dayz page. And, it's like, I think I had 250 followers when I first started.
Yeah, all that other stuff seems to be very like how you portray yourself to others. But like on an app like Clubhouse, there is no editing. There is you and there's you. There's either your mind or your heart, whichever one's coming out.
Yeah, very transparent, very authentic. And so the thing is that the way it works is, the link for your Instagram is in your Clubhouse bio. And the only way for people to communicate with you off the app is to click on that and go to Instagram. Well, what happened was, just in a few weeks, my following went right up to 1,000. And now it's like, I think I'm at like maybe 2,100 followers now in just 2 months. And, that kind of growth, and it's organic, and it's, the engagement is off the chart. If I make a post, my engagement is like 30%. which is unheard of, because everybody that's engaging with me came from Clubhouse that comes to listen to me in Clubhouse. So it's like I make a post and they're like on it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just become such a great tool to like start to leverage both Clubhouse and Instagram piggybacking off of each other to just grow this organization to where now I've just been standing so firm. Like I'll go into rooms now where I was in a room the other day. It was called "Tell Us a Joke, Make Us Laugh." So I'm in this room, and people were telling like a little bit off, like a little bit funny humor, but whatever. And I'm thinking like, man, I got some jokes, but I'm Clubhouse's favorite dad. So if I go and tell a joke, the humor is a little dark or it's a little off brand. How's that going to look? Oh, so when he's in his room, he's Clubhouse's favorite dad. But over here, he's a little bit rude or crude, right? So it's like, they're like, Nicholas, you got a joke for us? So I come off and what do? Tell a dad joke. Right? And of course, because I'm Clubhouse's favorite dad, everybody's flashing their mics and laughing, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, of course he's gonna tell a dad joke, right? And it's like, but that's the thing, right? So anytime I'm sharing from a place of being a dad, a girl dad, right? And so it's always on brand. I'm always, my intro. So when I come to stage, I say, hey guys, this is Nicholas, Clubhouse's favorite dad with the pink ring and all the pink inside. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I am here to make a stand for 10 million dads and daughters. I won't stop until I have, and I can't do it alone. So if you're a dad or a daughter, drop into my DMs because we need to do this together. Nicholas is done speaking, right? Or if I have a question, and my question is, and so now it's like I throw that out right away, my little 5 to 7 second pitch, just to let everybody know who I am up on the stage. Because now what happens is once I do that, if there's 800 people in the audience, all the dads and daughters are going, click, let's see who this guy is. And all of a sudden the following increases. I get DMs. Hey, I've got 2 daughters. Hey, hey, I'd love to come and talk in your rooms. And it starts to build, right? And so now starting to leverage this new app, this technology, not realizing that through the whole pandemic, people are saying to me, oh, do you do Zoom parties? And I'm like, no. Like I said, And it's like, no, what's that? They're like, well, you can get like tons of dads and daughters from all over the world and you can have a party. And I'm like, I can? And it's like,
Ew.
if I had have known this, I would have been throwing parties through the whole pandemic, right? And so leveraging that. So now I'm learning all the brighter side of tech, right?
Yep.
And plug.
I see what you did there.
It was
I'll take it.
And so, yeah, and it's like, it's crazy how I should have and could have been leveraging this technology to continue to grow this brand and this mission I have through Instagram, through Zoom, through Clubhouse, through Facebook groups, you know, and I just didn't know how. And Clubhouse got me in alignment with people who are so willing. Once they see, this is what I've got, once they see that you are authentic, that you are not wavering in your stand for what you talk about, they're willing to put their neck out and help you. And you know, I have an individual on the app that has reached out to me a few weeks ago, and so we're developing something. He's showing me how to use tech. I can't say very much right now; it's on the down low. However, we're developing.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, exactly. Part 2 coming up, right? When we do the one. But it's crazy, and you know what I'm looking at is back to the whole 3 to 5 years. Like we're looking 3 to 5 months of being on Clubhouse because I'm into my 3rd month now. Within 3 to 5 months, Dady Daughter Dayz is going to be global.
It's already global from that app.
Well, yeah, but I mean like
super global. Nice.
Like I mean, it's to the point where the impact right now, I'm impacting maybe a few thousand people on the app, right?
Yep.
I said 10 million.
So going on that right there. So on your Instagram account, let me read this. It says, your goal is to impact the relationships of 10 million dads and daughters. How did that come to life? Why 10 million? How 10 million? What brought you there? If you could tell us in a nutshell what the story behind that is.
Absolutely.
I think that's a great story to share.
It's a quick story.
Go.
To be able to tell the origin story, it's probably one of the first times I've ever told the whole story without crying. And so, because when I think about it, and I think maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm looking at myself and I'm looking at you, so I'm trying to keep it together. But yeah, when I tell the story of not talking to my daughter, it doesn't feel good, and the emotions definitely come into play when I share that story sometimes. And so I was on a stage. I held a room with a couple people. We started it Sunday morning, 8:15 a.m. About a month ago, and this room went for 40 hours. And so, yeah, it was intense. Biggest room in Clubhouse, several times throughout that 40 hours. And so there was a point where, Grant Cardone came in the room. And so, we were interviewing Grant Cardone and talking to him. And it was, so you're familiar with Grant, right? 10X.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So here's Grant, and and I say, hey, Grant, this is Nicholas here, at the top right corner, with the pink ring around me and all the pink inside, and I'm here to impact the relationships of 1 million, 10 million dads and daughters, right? How do you talk to Grant Cardone and not instantly 10x your conversation, right?
Yep.
So,
what was his response?
Well, he didn't really say too much. He's like, oh, cool, and then he just, I asked him a question, right? And so he just went to answering the question. And I think I had acknowledged him for the video he did with his daughter being on one of his stages in his growth conference. And I was just acknowledging him for that. And I asked him how that impacted her and what her feelings were on being on that stage and how that's impacted her, right? Anyhow, so he went into just answering the question and so on. And so it's funny because so that's how it got to 10 million, because everybody's like, you say, right? Like, I want to be a millionaire, right? It's like, well, what's a millionaire? Okay, well, or a million, right? Like, that's the benchmark, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I said that, because a million, that's a big number. And then it just 10x to 10 million. Well, it's like, now I joke around and I'm like, crap, what's going to happen when Grant pokes his head into my room again? Or I'm in a room and Grant's there and I go ahead and do my intro and I say 10 million. Like, it's like, do I instantly then say 100 million?
You won't know until you find out, right?
So that's how it became.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we've been on here for quite a bit. I don't want to take up that much of your time, but this was really awesome. Thank you for sharing the story of how Dady Daughter Dayz. I have to say that a little slower because I can't say it too fast.
Dady Daughter Dayz.
Dady Daughter Dayz. Dady Daughter Dayz.
Dady Daughter Dayz. Daughter Dayz. Dady Daughter.
I'll get there. I'll be able to say it 3 times in a row. Yeah, it's technology really made, at first it was something that didn't do much, but the right technology really just made it blossom and created the contacts, created the connections. And that is both the beautiful part and the dark side. There are always dark sides to everything and the beautiful part. And as we see in today's story, this is the beautiful side of things where.
Well, really quick, actually, before we go, then, to talk about the dark side, especially with what I'm doing with Dady Daughter Dayz, is that there's a lot of times where I'm conflicted, because how do you truly connect, right? How do you truly connect with your daughter? So if I'm with my 4.5-year-old, right? Or even my 21-year-old, right? When we were hanging out, going to Wonderland and doing stuff, we'd be getting on a ride or something, and I'd go, okay, say cheese, and here we are, like, selfie, and she'd be like, no, I don't want to take a selfie. So then it's like, okay, how am I going to post this on the page? How am I going to promote this? That, here we are spending time together. Here, these are things that you can do with your daughter, and, I'm sure there's a million answers to that, right? Using, stock images and stuff like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be my own daughter. But the reality is I'm with my 4.5-year-old, and, we do bedtime stories. So every night we read a book. She's fallen into it. It's become a habit where we pick the books we're going to read. She sits in her bed and I sit beside the bed, and we lean in together, and this is my choice of book, and she picks her book, and usually she gets to pick 2. And then we take a selfie, and then I don't post it right away. Right. So I've had messages from people going, you put your daughter to bed at 10 o'clock at night? And it's like, no, I took the picture at like 8:30, 9 o'clock while I was reading her a story. But what I do is I take the selfie. She wants to look at it, but then posting it and putting like hashtags and all this different stuff takes time. So right away, I just lock the phone, I put it on silent, and I put it down. And then we go to reading the book. It's like, read the book, read her book, read her second book. She lays down, back tickle while I sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, then the ABC song, then the ABC song again, then tickle her back some more, and then go through the whole routine, and then fall asleep. Like, I'll lay on my head, like the upper part of my body on her bed, and like lay there with my hand on her so that she doesn't wake up. And then sometimes I fall asleep and I'll wake up like an hour later, and I get up and I sneak out of the room, and then I go ahead and post it on the page and the story saying, bedtime stories or whatever. And so, it's like the darker side is that when we're trying to take pictures, we're trying to take videos, it's taking away from the moment that you're sharing. And so how do you find that balance between creating that moment for them and not using them to promote what you're trying to do? So you have to be very careful on how much camera time is there, right? And so one of the things that I'm learning to do is just have specific times where I'm taking pictures or videos, and then take lots of them.
Yeah.
And then for the majority of the time we spend together, there's no camera, right?
That's nice.
So I can use all that content that I'm creating or making videos of, right? And then I can make multiple posts for a while, instead of having to videotape her every single time we do something, because now she just knows daddy as, well, he just always has a camera on. you know, and until she gets a little bit older where that's something fun for her, I don't want it to take away from that organic connection that we have where we're just being together without a phone.
Awesome.
So that's kind of just a dip into the dark side. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. It's always good to know the both sides of the coin to what to watch out for. Where can people go to connect with you? What is the websites, social medias, clubhouses? Let us know. What are they that they can connect
All
with
right.
you?
Well, we've got, we've got starting off with Clubhouse. You can find me at Nicholas.Trott is my username, or Nicholas Trott. That's Trott with 2 T's. On Clubhouse, the Instagram is Dady Daughter Dayz with a Z, and then official. So Dady Daughter Dayz official. The Facebook page is Dady Daughter Dayz. What else do we have? We got a podcast coming up soon. Haven't named it yet. Don't know what we're going to name it yet. It will be coming out soon. Actually, similar like this. I want to do the video, like the YouTube and podcast together kind of thing. So haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to call it yet, but it will be coming soon. And yeah, those are the platforms. And then the website is daddydaughterdays.com. So you can find me on any of those.
Awesome. Thank you very much for sharing your story, sharing your passion for fathers and daughters. And it's very important, although I'm neither a father nor a daughter, but I grew up with 4 sisters. So a dad makes a huge difference in the life of a daughter. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for what you're doing and what you're going to be doing. And next time I'll probably look at your profile. And if it turns to 100 million, then I know Grant Cardone has spoken with you again.
Well, you know what, Alexi, thank you so much for having me on the brighter side of tech. It's been an honor to be your first, and I'm just so excited to see it when it's launched.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and maybe we'll reconnect again another time, another few episodes later, to share how things are going when you're going to be going live with the Dady Dayz official 3D whatnot. We'll see, and I'd love to share that here as well. But thank you very much, and I hope you have an awesome warm day up there in Canada as I'm here in rainy Hawaii. Well, that concludes our interview today with Nicholas Trott from Dady Daughter Dayz with the brighter side of tech. Thank you, and have an awesome day, guys.